everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to this week's Ponderous Wednesday. If you're new to my channel or don't know, Ponderous Wednesdays are my forum for taking a thought-provoking or interesting topic and having a good old ramble about them here on YouTube to stimulate some interesting discussion down in the comment section. This week, as you may have guessed from the large pile of copper we have on the table, we're going to be talking about copper. I want to talk about it in the sense of whether it is a tangible investment. You know, in this community, a lot of people will be investing in silver and gold. Some of you also invest in copper. Some of you purchase copper as a kind of bullion grade piece of metal like we have out here. There's a whole host of different kind of coins, or rounds I should say. They're not actually coins, but there's also fun sort of 5-ounce cubes and big kilo bars. Of course, there are different ways of investing in copper. You can have lots of scrap copper. You can pick up a whole host of old US pennies, UK pennies and 2p coins, and that has a large proportion of copper within them. So a whole host of different ways of investing in copper and ways of looking at investing in copper. But I'm asking today whether or not it's really something that's actually feasible, or is it just, like a lot of what's out on the table here, a little bit of a novelty. Now, I would love to know your opinions as I go through this video, so please do comment down in the comment section. Of course, these opinions are just my own. I'm just a dude who likes to make videos here on YouTube and talk about random things. This is not financial advice. If you are interested in getting into copper as an investment, I'd highly recommend that you go and do a lot more research than just watching my video. So, copper. So copper is, it's a metal. Is it a precious metal? That's, I guess, the very first place to start. Is it precious? It's not a particularly rare metal. It's one which is used very widely throughout the world in, well, wiring, and that's pretty much the sort of the biggest use. It's an incredibly good conductor of electricity and heat, and it is very, very widely used in industry for those reasons. And that's the kind of main use of copper. So when you see these kind of big copper blocks here, you know, in terms of like, it's basically just a piece of copper to invest in or to have as a novelty, and we'll get to that question in a bit. This is very much not the main use of copper in the world, and that, I think, is the important thing to start with, because right there and then you can just say straight up that copper is not a investment material. It's very much that kind of industrial grade material that people have decided to make some interesting things out of that are then called bullion. So yeah, in my opinion, copper is not necessarily the easiest thing to invest in that sense. If you wanted to invest in it as a kind of industrial metal, you would probably have to be investing in it on an industrial scale. You'd need to be having very large piles of scrap copper that you can pick up. I'm sure it's possible to pick up scrap copper from various different sources, getting it for free. You can, you know, sort of get old machinery, old washing machines, whatever it might be, strip out all the copper from them, and you've got yourself some free copper, minus of course the labour for your time and everything. So, you know, that's one way of doing it. The other way, of course, is these kind of products that we see out here on the table. So, you know, there are a whole host of different copper rounds, and it's actually very common in the USA to see these on a lot of the bullion dealer sites. Provident Metals, JM Bullion, there's a lot of different designs out there. Lots of different mints will make these in the different designs that we've got here. Golden State Mint making these Incus Indians, which are very, very cool. I have to say, they look great, and considering the price of copper is very, very low, so these cost I think like $1 each if you buy 20 or more. So, you know, really, really cheap in that sense. For us over here in the UK, it's not so easy to get copper bullion like this. It's just not very common at all, and a lot of the time you see it on eBay. People have bought it in, and I do this as well. A lot of these I bought specifically to kind of retail up on eBay. Gets my business card out to new buyers and everything. People discover Backyard Bullion through eBay. You know, raises my seller profile, gives me some feedback, etc. So I always thought that was a pretty good idea of why to sort of buy some copper rounds. They're cheap to buy and to sell as well. But here in the UK, obviously, when we buy in a whole bunch of these like I did, you get stung with import duties and import taxes, so it ends up being like £2, £2.50 per coin per ounce basically, which is quite high, obviously. So lots of things to think about for us here in the UK. So is it really practical in the UK? Certainly not when you look at it in terms of that price relative to what the metal value is. So currently, at the time of filming, copper prices are around the $2.87 per pound mark, per pound. Now that's 16 ounces in a pound, so 16 of these is worth just under $3. So you can see that the raw metal prices for those is very, very low, and if you're paying £2, £3 for that, you're certainly not investing in the metal weight. You'll be investing in it as a collectible novelty item, and that's why I think these, that's kind of the area that I think these have the most potential value to have, as a kind of novelty item, as something that that you will like to have just because you like the design of the Incus Indians. Perhaps you have a bunch of the silver Incus Indians or the gold Incus Indians, and you just think a novelty copper one for $1 or for £2 will be quite fun to have. And the same can be said for like the 5 ounce rounds here. Of course, the larger the copper pieces that you buy are, the cheaper overall it will be per ounce. But still, for these larger pieces, for the 5 ounce pieces, it's still 3 or 4 times the value of the copper inside it. Now, of course, there are other types of things which are really cool, and I love these 5 ounce cubes. I've imported a bunch of these to sort of sell on, basically, like I said, on eBay. These two, keeping for myself, they are very, very fun, really satisfying in the hand and very heavy. Of course, one of the great things about it is it's just copper, it's just a novelty item, so you can just hold it in the hand and roll it around like this and have a great bit of fun with it. So that's something that can be really said for that. It is very satisfying to have these, but these are cool. Still very expensive when relating to copper, but at the same time they were very popular here in the UK, so it is theoretically possible to invest in them. But where I think the market for copper goes best is when you're looking at it instead of just like a short-term 5-10 year investment. You buy at a certain price, you sell at a certain price. One of the best things that can be used, or copper can be used for, is in that kind of barter economy situation. So let's just hypothetically say there's an economic collapse, everything goes to pot, you've got your silver, you've got your gold. The gold is the kind of thing that you would use to buy a truck, a house, whatever it might be, something expensive basically. Think of it as a huge denomination of currency. The silver is your more sort of bulk purchases. When you go to the supermarket and you have that giant trolley of stuff, maybe you'll use a few ounces of silver to purchase that. The copper is your kind of everyday bartering tool, and that's the same as it is now. We have the copper coins. Granted, they're not copper anymore, but the sort of the 1 pennies, the 2 pennies, they are just that kind of barter currency. They're that really low denomination currency point that you can use to just get change, and that's ultimately what the most potential use for copper as a kind of stacking investment, as a sort of prepping type investment can be. You will have that benefit potentially down the line. So that's definitely something to consider. Whether that's really very practical, I've shared my opinions on that kind of scenario happening. I think it's very unlikely, and I think that there will be a lot more different commodities which would be far more useful and valuable in those types of situations, water and food being a prime example, than having a large stack of copper. That said, it is obviously something that a lot of you take very seriously, and I appreciate that. Now, the last thing I want to say, I haven't really showed this here, is that copper is very heavy for its value. So that's the last thing. Is it really a tangible investment that one can make? I don't think so, because of just the sheer value to weight ratio. And I've talked about that being a hindrance for stacking large volumes of silver. So imagine that with now copper. So this entire kilo bar here, in terms of raw melt value, is worth, I think it's like 2.2 ounces worth of copper. So you're looking at like what, $6.50, £5 in metal value for 1 kilo. And so anything that you have that's a kilo, it's heavy. A kilo is a heavy thing, and if you have 20 of these, that's going to be heavy, and you're not going to be able to move it very quickly. So it is an interesting premise, and one which I don't think is very practical. So a lot of these items that you see out here on the table are in fact novelty stuff for me. I've purchased them, like this kilo bar I purchased off eBay. It was like nearly 2 years ago. I think it was very early on in my stacking adventure here on YouTube, and I bought it off eBay for about, I think it was about £10. So, will I get more than £10 out of it at the other end? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe in 10, 15 years, if copper is worth more than that, that's great. But for me, it was a novelty item. It's not really representing anything more than just something that's quite fun, something I can share with you guys here on YouTube. And then that can be the same said for these copper rounds here. Now these, I haven't talked about these yet in this video. These are very, very cool. These are the Zombux series in copper. I didn't purchase these, but I was gifted them by Silver Vessel. And he gave them to me about over a year ago now, I think. But these, I think, represent the best chance for any kind of copper round to kind of perform. You know, Zombux series, it's about aesthetics, it's about desirability. The Zombux series, very, very popular, very, very interesting. And those types of designs where you have something very aesthetically pleasing, they will appreciate well in time, and hopefully they'll do quite well over the course of 5-6 years or so, and then maybe you look to sell them. Of course, they're a really efficient and cheap way of being able to collect the entire series of the Zombux coins. You know, we've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you bought all 10 ounces worth of the silver at the high premiums, you'd be spending quite a lot. Whereas right now, 10 copper rounds, 15, 20 bucks, easy, done, and you've got it and you can enjoy it. And they do actually look quite cool in the copper, I have to say. So there we go. Copper. Is it really an investment? Is it something that you can tangibly invest in? Is it something that you're going to get a return on? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. Please do comment down below in the comment section. Have you got copper? Are you stacking copper? Are you getting copper in different forms? Are you having a whole host of different pennies that you will one day potentially melt down if and when that is legal to do so? I'd love to know, so please do comment down below. If you liked this video, please put a thumbs up on it and share it around on your social media. That would be very helpful. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then please make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the alarm bell if you want to get notifications, because I do a video like this every Wednesday. Otherwise, this weekend we have the results of the 5,000 subscriber giveaway, so make sure you stick around and catch that on Sunday. But otherwise, have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure that you like, share, comment and subscribe for more.